Meanwhile, the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, is calling for an in-depth review of various taxing strategies for the digital economy. The President and Chairman of the Council, CITN, Mr. Adesina Adedayo, maintains that this is necessary to resolve the uncertainty around taxing the digital economy, as well as block revenue tax leakages. Blessed Omonose tells us more in this report.
The use of big data, Internet of Things, and data analytics amongst all the digital complexities have now become the new world order, causing disruption in the global business and political space. Despite the advantages linked to the expansion of the digital economy, challenges arising from tax implications of the digital economy are perhaps the most urgent issues bedeviling revenue authorities, policymakers, international organizations, and tax practitioners. At this induction ceremony of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria, CITN, President of the Institute, Mr. Adesina Adedayo, has called on tax administrators to explore technological innovation in expanding the country's tax base.
Tax administration in Africa and indeed Nigeria remain unclear on the most effective and efficient way to tax the digital economy. Yet the challenges arising from technological advancement and intricate business models continue to mount, thus increasing the likelihood of tax revenue leakages.
For us, induction ceremony is a remarkable event, and it represents the symbolic unleashing of a force of qualified tax practitioners and administrators who are the future leader in the field of taxation.
In a related development, Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by the State Commissioner for Finance while delivering his keynote speech at the CITN annual dinner and award night, maintains that the sustainability of the internally generated revenue has remained a major task for state government at this challenging time.
We cannot overemphasize the critical role that your institute and members play in ensuring that our revenue generating capacity is continually enhanced to achieve sustainability in Lagos State. This is presumed on the fact that taxation remains the primary and major source of revenue for government, especially the Lagos State government, to implement all of its programs.
I want to really commend the Council of the Institute for sustaining this gesture. It has, in no small ways, encouraged excellence in taxation and tax professionalism across the country.
Highlight of the event is the recognition of TVC News business editor Mr. Tolulopo Ogunjobi for his stellar reportage on tax and tax-related issues in the financial sector of the Nigerian economy. Blessed Omonose, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, beautiful scenes there, and congratulations are in order for the business editor here in TVC News. Let's move on now to global markets. Asian stocks recorded their sharpest declines in 2 weeks, while the dollar held on to gains of following strong U.S. data that suggested the Federal Reserve might stick longer with aggressive interest rate increases. MSCI's the broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan declined at 1.4%, the biggest fall since November 21, after climbing to a 3-month high in the previous session. While stocks in Korea fell at 1%, Taiwan slumped by 1.6%, and Hong Kong shed at 1.1%. Chinese stocks extended their recovery, with the broader index CSI 300 gaining 0.6%, while Japan was up at 0.3%. While Australia's central bank has just a moment ago raised interest rates to a 10-year high, the Apex Bank is stuck with its projections that more hikes are needed to curb inflation. But during its last policy meeting of the year, the central bank lifted its cash rate by 25 basis points to 3.1%, the 8th hike bringing its rate increases to a 300 basis points since May. Well, Governor of the Apex Bank, Mr. Philip Lowe, says the board expects to increase interest rates further over the period ahead, although he adds that it is not on a preset course. According to the central bank's forecast, January 2023 quarterly inflation report is expected to show consumer inflation at about 8% in the fourth quarter compared with a year earlier in Australia. An Apple supplier, Foxconn, says its revenue in November is down by 11% compared to the same month in 2021. This drop is as a result of its plants in Zhejiang, China, being affected by coronavirus restrictions. And despite making a record of 160 billion euros from January to November, a 13.5% increase compared to the same period in 2021, November revenue is 29% down compared to October. Meanwhile, the pandemic situation has been brought under control, with dozens of districts in Guangdong and Shanghai released from lockdown measures at the beginning of December. And finally, crude oil rebounded today after plunging by more than 3% in the previous session as the implementation of sanctions on Russian seaborne crude oil eased concerns about oversupply, while the relaxing of China's COVID-19 curbs blustered the demand outlook. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude rose today, selling at $77.61 per barrel with an uptick of 0.88%. Brent crude futures also experiences an uptick of 1.03% to sell at $83.53 per barrel. And Borden Light experiences a price decline of 1.75%, selling at $83.09 per barrel. And for the OPEC basket, crude oil dealers are offering $83.97 per barrel with a downward price margin of 0.50%.